Hello and welcome to another edition of Goa 365 Story Behind the Story. With me are two people whom are known in their fields. They are people who are concerned about the environment. We can call them, in short, environmental activists. Also with us today on this discussion, debate, whatever you may want to call it, is wildlife biologist Nandini Velio. Welcome Abhijit.
Thank you.
Welcome David.
Thank you.
And welcome Nandini.
Thank you.
We will start with you, Abhijit. First of all, we've been hearing, we've thought of starting this discussion because we've been hearing a lot about this, a lot of tree felling going on, deforestation in our sanctuaries, wildlife sanctuaries, especially under the cover of this corona, this corona pandemic. So we have looked into some of these issues. We've spoken to people. Now we want to know from you all whether there's truth in it. It's as serious as people make out to be, or like what the government says. No, it's just to say. So what do you have to say? What is the present status? What is the status of the issue as of now?
Okay. The thing is that while this corona pandemic is on, the government is going ahead and giving environmental clearances, wildlife clearances to a large number of projects. If you see in the last few months, the Wildlife Board has cleared, the State Wildlife Board has cleared multiple projects in the wildlife sanctuaries, in the National Park, Mole National Park, Mahavir National Park, and the projects basically are, one is 4-laning of the highway. So the highway going NH4A going from Goa to Anmod and beyond to Belgaum is going to be made into a large 4-lane highway. We are having double tracking of the railway tracks, which goes from Vasco, MPT till further to Londa onwards. So that is going to be double track. There's a large transmission line, 400 kV transmission line, for which also permissions are being granted. And the tree felling that you were talking about, and it's a massive lot, has taken place for a electrical substation without informing the people, without giving any intimation to the people. So it's extremely serious. It's the survival not just of the wildlife sanctuaries, but it's the survival of Goa which is at stake.
David, Abhijit has skirted the surface of this. He's given us a general status. And what do you have to say on this?
I would say that government is arbitrarily destroying forest for their benefits, only for the benefits of few people. If I would name them, they are Vedanta, Jindal, okay, few people. They are looking after their business interest, which they are not bothered about the people of Goa. I would feel that this development is nothing but destruction development. They called it development. I would say it is destruction development, which is, as Abhijit has rightly said, that our survival, the people of Goa, is at stake with this.
We have with us a distinguished guest and somebody more who can give us some details on this viruses and this. We have with us Nandini, who is a wildlife biologist. Nandini, could you give us some more details on what David has been talking about, what's happening in the forest when tree felling happens and all that?
So what David and Abhijit have been talking about is basically you can't look at environmental degradation and environmental destruction that is mediated by tree felling or by mining as just purely an environmental issue. World over, people who are doctors and public health practitioners are telling us that this is a problem that also matters to them. So, for instance, if we look at the transfer of viruses, it's called the transfer of zoonotic diseases, which is the spillover from animals to humans, and that spillover happens when you create more edges for animals and these viruses to interact with humans in places that were relatively undisturbed in the past. So one is the aspect of COVID, which should actually give us a time to rethink about what our strategy and what our land use planning should be because of these multiple public health concerns that I was talking about.
The audio not too clear. We are Nandini is on video conferencing with us now. Abhijit, I want to know now. I'm sure you all have tried to bring these issues to the to the authorities, to the authorities. So what exactly? What was your response? Were you successful? Was it? Were they not? I'm sure they must be aware. They have experts with them. Were they not sure of how? What was the reaction? Whether they were actually aware or they were aware but not bothered. What response did you get from the authorities?
आमी सरकाराक पत्र बरयल्यात, लेटर बरयल्यात सरकाराक 2017 रेनबो वॉरियर्सान सगळी डिटेल्ड लेटर बरयलां कित्याक हे प्रोजेक्ट करूंक जायना म्हूण. तेच भशेन आमी पळयलां शिगांव पंचायतीन सरकाराक बरयलां की हो प्रोजेक्ट जावचो न्हू म्हूण. हे सगळें आसतना तुमी जेन्ना वायल्ड लायफ बोर्डाचे मिनिट्स वाचतात ताजे वयल्यान कळून येता की सरकारान एक सुद्दां एक्सपर्ट रिपोर्ट नाल्यार टेक्निकल स्टडीचेर तांणी पळोवंकूच ना आनी दोळे धांपून ब्लायंडली हे प्रोजेक्ट तांणी पास केल्यात. सो हातून दुबावूच ना की हे प्रोजेक्ट वयल्यान प्रेशर आसा म्हणून गव्हर्मेंट पास करता, हाजेर आपल्याले एप्लिकेशन ऑफ मायंड म्हणटा ते सरकारान करूंक ना. आनी हाजें कारणय व्हेरी क्लियर की देर आर बीग कॉर्पोरेशन्स हू आर इंट्रस्टेड इन मेकींग बीग प्रॉफिट्स आनी हे व्हडले पयशे करपी जे थोडी कंपनीज आसात तांकां लागून हे प्रोजेक्ट सरकार दोळे धांपून धुकळत आसा.
डेविड, वन पॉयंट नाव हे सगळे ते कातोत्ता, सगळे झाडां कातोत्ता ते वेस्टर्न घाट्स आर इम्पॉर्टंट फॉर अस. दे आर इम्पॉर्टंट ट्रीज फॉर ब्रीदिंग, for variety of things. Plus anek issue is about that viruses, and we are under the shadow of the COVID-19.
Right.
So can you elaborate a little? Nandini has spoken, but can you elaborate as an environmental activist how this could affect us?
With this pandemic, we are taken back in years.
Correct.
Okay, government is talking about revival, economic revival. They have in between they are talking about economic revival, but they are not bothered. They are only bothered about the few, as Abhijit said, few poishekar. Okay, they are looking at that level. But I would say that since, as you said, that Western Ghats are affected as the breathing lungs of Goa. Okay, that is a tiger corridor, elephant corridor. Even if double tracking is done, the tiger won't be able to cross that. You know, it's a 30 meters wide railway track. Tigers won't be able, and first of all, we are trying to revive the population of tiger in India. Here, we are directly talking about endangering the species of tiger over here. Indirectly killing them with this. And plus, our rivers are there. Khandepar river will be cut off, which is Opa, which they get their water from that. First of all, Mahadehi is already gone.
Yeah.
Our lifeline of water is dependent on this Khandepar and Opa. And with this double tracking and highway 4 laning, I don't think so. We'll be self-reliant on water. That time we'll have to, I mean, as we are importing vegetables from the state, we'll be importing water.
Like water wars. Next is going to be a water war. Nandini, now we are talking about water and lifeline and tiger corridors and elephant corridors. Now this, with your training and with your study, it gives you a unique look into this. Could you speak to us, give us some on this?
many things this decision is based on. One is due process. So we have touched upon the due process and whether it is followed or has not been followed. But before this due process, we should understand what is this information that we are basing this due process on, which has not been followed. So we have been studying the environmental impact assessment report of the road, the highway expansion project, and even if you look at there are some gems if you look at and if you study the report. There are some assumptions that if you build a road, the frequency of animals crossing a road will increase. How they have arrived at this, based on what study that they can cite anywhere in the world, I also do not know. Then there are other things, even okay, you have these gems, then there are other things where they say that they are going to mitigate the impacts of the road. So yesterday I was looking at the report, and on page 96 of the report of the EIA, they say that they are going to afforest with 50,000 trees. In page 137, you move on, it goes to 20, that they change the number to 20,000 trees. So, there has to be, you look at the livelihood aspects that Abhijit and David are talking about, but even in terms of how you are basing your decisions, there has to be some sort of rigor in which you base these decisions. So that is my concern, like what are, from a scientific point of view, from a livelihood point of view, from a point of view of how you access this information in the middle of a pandemic. Experts themselves in the National Board for Wildlife are saying we cannot see maps over these virtual meetings, and yet Mr. Javadekar is passing these projects. So how are we basing these decisions are things we have to seriously think about.
We are also talking about this direct man-animal conflict. So when there is man-animal conflict, obviously the animals are coming into places which have been I can use the word usurp this land which was originally forest. So that type of contact, bats, they have no place, or any such animal who obviously don't you think, I don't know obviously or not, but as in your considered opinion, don't you think that this will for sure increase the amount of the type of diseases and the number of diseases that we could pick up from animals?
That is exactly my point. One is that the way you all are saying is that you all are looking at human wildlife conflict from the lens of diseases and the risk of transfer of diseases. So COVID is an example of that, where bats and mediated by bats, not only bats but bats and pangolins and humans coming into contact with varying degrees of consumption and how they have done it. The other is with respect to, like I was coming back to the Casanur forest disease and the monkey fever disease in Goa is also a problem where this was found in monkeys before. These ticks are now moving to cattle and humans and creating these spillover effects, which is a problem for this space, and it will only increase. And the third point I wanted to talk about is that such decisions, when you fragment the land, they obviously have economic implications to people living around there, because of the lack of forest cover, animals are going to come and are going to interact negatively with humans by raiding their fields and have direct economic impacts.
I need to discuss this a little further, but before that, let us go into a small break. See you on the other side. Welcome back. Just before the break, we were talking about the economic repercussions of deforestation, and Nandini was trying to explain to us not only the way this animal conflict can affect virus, also economic. So Nandini, can you elaborate on this, what we were discussing before the break?
So with respect to this point, I want to be clear that I'm talking about not the value, not the price of an ecosystem, but really the value that an ecosystem provides us. By that I mean there has been a study world over where they have looked at these ecosystem services and the ecosystem functions with respect to watersheds and all, not because if a infrastructure project came and said no, this is going to cost more and going to give us more benefits, we should cut the forest down, but just to put a number so we understand what is the true value of the forest apart from the cultural and the other values that are not there. So they estimate that the values go up to $54 trillion of pollination services, of the air that we breathe. If you, for instance, had to convert the air that we breathe into oxygen cylinders that you would have to buy, and looking at all this, it's $54 trillion. So it's not non-significant. And if you come to the context of Goa, and if you look at the potential of hinterland tourism in places like Molai, obviously these economic values have to be taken into consideration, which none of the project reports have been able to elucidate how they have done that.
Now, moving on a little bit, Abhijit, I want to know what are the solutions to this? Because see, we don't have a choice. We need to find some solution.
ना तुमी म्हणटा ते सारकें, आमकां उपाय जाय. उपाय कित्याक जाय? हे जे प्रोजेक्ट आसात हे एक भशेन गोंय नश्ट करपाचें आनी गोंयकारांक सगल्यांक गोंय सोडून वचपाचें एक दार आमी ओपन करतात. हो हायवे बांदप आनी ही रेल्वे ट्रॅक बांदप हे फक्त कोळशाचे धंद्या लागून आसा. हें आमकां पयलीं कळूंक जाय. हे सगळे कोळसो व्हरपा खातीर तांकां हे साधन, आनी एक खेपे हे हायवे आनी रेल्वे ट्रॅक्स आयले जाल्यार गोंय एक कोळशाचो केंद्र, कोल हब जो एक अडानी वेदांता हांचो जो एक प्लॅन आसा हो करपाचो तांचो प्लॅन सक्सेसफूल जातलो. सो वी हॅव टू स्टॉप दीस. वी हॅव टू स्टॉप. आतां कशें बंद करतले हे हाजेर हो तुमचो प्रश्न आशिल्लो, आनी हाका गरज आसा पयलीं म्हणल्यार अवेरनस. लोकां म्हऱ्या आमी सगल्या कडेन हें पावूंक जाय की हे प्रोजेक्ट आमचे गोंय नश्ट करपाचे, आमचे गोंयकारांक गोंय सोडून वचपाचे एक पाळी हाडपाचे हे प्रोजेक्ट आसात. ओन्ली फॉर अ कोल हब. देर इज नो पब्लीक इंट्रस्ट.
David, now see, this is a strong charge, no doubt. However, do you think that any government or any authorities would be so short-sighted? I wouldn't want to use stronger words, but so short-sighted that they are actually going to destroy brand Goa. See, brand Goa is a brand which is known throughout the world. It's not only in India. So you think they will, because once coal comes in and once it becomes, then it's going to be another Jamshedpur or anything. You think that people are in power are so short-sighted that they would do this, or is there some conspiracy theory wherein they intend to see that Goa as a brand, as a place is sought to be destroyed and something else is coming up? What do you feel on this? It's a theory, but I'm just saying, I'm putting it out there.
As you said, it is right. They are out to destroy brand Goa.
Why is my
Why?
question.
Now, if you take a small example, the double tracking, okay, if you see the Dudhsagar, 30 meters wide, where will the track come? They have to do the other side, near the waterfall, the track has to be lifted up. The site will go off. Tourism come to see that site, which they will miss it. So they want to destroy that. At the airport, they are doing coal business, which they want to transport from MPT to Belgaum and other places in Karnataka.
Coal is not Goan. It's not from Goa. At least, or you could say it's a local
Goa,
product.
yeah.
Okay, a local businessmen are going to. But Abhijit, I would like to bring you into this. I want a little something a little harder, more this why coal and why Goa.
This is from MPT's projection from their master plan.
Okay.
They want to transport 51 million tons of coal through Goa. This is the government records saying 51 million tons is much more than iron ore went out.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
so 51 million
Yes.
tons of ore just on this by 2030. But if you go through the Sagarmala documents, you will be shocked. You are looking at 130 million tons of coal is the demand coming up in Karnataka.
Okay.
And this is the closest, easiest port. It's all about profit. If you bring coal by ship as close as possible to your factory, you're saving a large amount of money on transport. That
little,
is the
little shift from the Western Ghats to coal. Now coal in Goa, we know, though everybody denies it, or at least the government denies it, but people from Vasco speak about what coal has done. You are aware, you've been
Yes.
there, you know what it can do to, what it has done to Vasco, what it has done to people around that area. So are you saying that this same status or whatever you want to call it is going to happen to our coastal villages? As of now, coastal Goa is tourism Goa, brand Goa, palm fringed beaches, the white sands, this is what people come. So
Yes.
are you saying that all this is going to disappear?
It's
What-
very
what-
interesting.
Yes.
There are many Goa. See,
interesting, I don't know. Interesting is-
even in the
that's the right
heydays,
word.
even in the
Word to put.
heydays of iron ore mining,
Yes.
none of the tourists knew what was happening.
No.
This is the same case. The coal transportation will be along the rivers. So it will be inland. So villages, let's say in Zuari River, Shiroda, Borin, Durbat, all of this, the entire Ponda area. Then on the other side, Salset villages, Raya, Kurtori, Girdoli. These are the areas which they are looking at. The Khazan lands to stock the coal and to take it on from the roads to through this highway, National Highway 4A expansion is purely for coal.
Abhijit, give me actual hard facts on this exact thing, because now what we are doing is, I don't know how it's possible, but you're saying that tourism, coastal beach belt won't get affected, and it's going to be coastal beach belt for tourists, and it's going to be coal for MPT and the coal. Is this such a reality that Goa will not be affected by this, Goans will not be affected by this, or do we all have to go on to Swindon and France or Portugal, wherever? What are you trying to say? Please be clear on this.
Well, if this comes through, if हे रस्ते बांदले आनी रेल्वे बांदली जाल्यार आमचे गोंयकार तुका गोंया मेळपाचे ना. It is going to be difficult to find a Goan because our villages जे न्हंयेचे देगेर जे गांव आसात ते खाली जातले कोळश्या लागून, आनी जे आतां टुरिजम आसा ते आतां मोपा एअरपोर्ट बांदलो जाल्यार तो टुरिजम गोंया उरपाचो ना. गोंयचो तुमी म्हणटा तो ब्रँड नेम उरतलो, that you are landing in Goa airport, but all the activities will be in Maharashtra. Because why are they turning this across? Because they want Goa for a coal hub.
Nandini, I want to bring you in on this. What Abhijit is saying is it almost looks like a thriller, but it makes a lot of sense. What do you feel as a professional, as the way we are basically not concerned about the environment or not bothered? What do you have to say on this?
With respect to what Abhijit is saying, if we come back to even just looking at Mole and the road, so there is 1,794 crores that is going to be spent on the NH4A highway, right? So if we look at this money is going to be spent, the first logical question in how you spend that money is, what is the rationale for this project? Have residents asked for this? There is no information on that. Has the tourism lobby whose livelihoods are connected to Mole have asked for this? There is no information on that. If you even look at our traffic volumes, are we basing our this project on traffic volumes? And is it that's why we have this? That's why we want to create expansion within Goa's largest protected area and that we have left. There is no information and there is no rationale for that. So it ties in. Even if you look at the smallest scale, and you apply the same rationale, and what is the logic? Why do we need this? There is no clarity. And if you scale it up to the level of Goa, we are seeing the problems that Abhijit is talking about.
Yeah, thanks Nandini. David, have you watched Mad Max?
Yeah.
This is giving me some very
Mel Gibson.
yeah, but it's giving me some very like these huge truck convoys, no
Right.
oil, desert. It's given me some very vivid images of this. What do you feel? Is this? I mean, of course, that is a total exaggeration.
Yeah.
But do you feel that the government is being extremely short-sighted? Goans are very small, 2 MPs plus one. Are we being taken for granted ultimately, and is this not giving people, the business is not giving Goans opportunity to work, to get involved, employment, people being brought in from? Is this a way? Is this a conspiracy for Goans to
Move out.
to be forced to move? Ultimately, if you
Yes.
have no, see, in these present circumstances, COVID circumstances, the government is opening up. People are getting infected at a rate, higher rate. People are opening up. So ultimately, economy. So ultimately, it's money. No, you have to survive. You want a better this for your family. It's going to be that bad, that scary. I leave this to you to give me, since you brought out this initially.
Yeah, it is going to be very scary. When they talk about economic revival, they are only talking about mining and sand mining, iron ore mining and sand mining. In fact, one of the businessmen commented recently, requested the government to start mining and sand mining together.
I want to bring Nandini on this. She's a non-environmentalist. She's a professional. Nandini, do you agree with this broad picture that has come out here today?
I can say categorically from this discussion that if we come back to Mole, there are several lessons from the projects that are the government is attempting to clear from Mole that can be extrapolated to the rest of Goa. So, for instance, in Mole, we have 3 infrastructure projects that the government is putting forth, but they have divided these infrastructure projects into 6 proposals. Okay, which is one of the ways that it helps the government, legal or not, is that you then end up showing that a smaller parcel of land gets affected, and so it becomes okay. But when you look at
Continue. Sorry, go on.
when you look at these 3 projects, 6 proposals, we are all looking at these impacts in isolation, and we are not looking at the cumulative impacts of what these projects mean for that protected area. So, tying into what Abhijit and David are saying, we have to be able to look at the different economic sectors, the different environmental sectors, what stands to get affected, and how that cumulatively will affect a vision that we have for what you call as brand Goa.
Basically, what is happening is planned. This is what has come out from this discussion, and it's this highway and railway and all that is just links putting up chess pieces on the full chessboard. Now, this has been a very, very interesting conversation, and we have managed to reach places which we had initially did not even think of going. We did not even think of going to that. This is the ultimate story behind the story of this discussion. I thank you very much, Abhijit,
Thank you.
Nandini, David. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Keep watching Goa 365.